Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
This is David Tulis. Is this Fletcher? Is this Fletcher Armstrong? Well, this is David Tulis, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to get a hold of my guest, Fletcher Armstrong, from the Center for Bioethical Reform, and we are having trouble with our connection. But no matter, there are important things to consider by way of clearing the decks. The decks, in the case of a story by Eric Evanier, is the ground near a new development here in Chattanooga, the ground under a bridge which was cleared. This is David Tulis. This is David Tulis. I need Russell in here. I can't get my guest. Well, we're having problems getting through, but there's we are the ground being cleared is under a bridge, and it's in Chattanooga, and we have a quote from Maura Sullivan, who is the COO of Chattanooga, regarding how it is that a bulldozer cleared out a place that has been there for 10 years, occupied by people who are homeless. This is David Tulis.
Hi, this is Fletcher Armstrong.
Oh, Fletcher, hi. This is David Tulis. Thanks for calling me. I appreciate your getting a hold of me. Even though we have the finest technology here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, sometimes little glitches creep into the system to test our patience and and briefly our sense of grace. Well, now let's see. We are you are a listener. Thanks for joining us. We're talking with a gentleman who runs the regional office for a group that espouses a kind of, you might say, a kind of visual violence, a group that shocks the conscience of people by displays, often at universities. And we've had 2 or 3 of CBR's displays here in Chattanooga at UTC. CBR is the Center for Bioethical Reform, and the regional office is run by Fletcher Armstrong, who is he has a PhD in engineering, and for many years worked in environmental consulting and at Oak Ridge as a manager for the Department of Defense and the Department of Energy. He quit that field 16 years ago, and he realized there was something he had to do, a mission of much greater calling, and dealing with you might say the fine structure of humanity as made and pieced together cell by cell by God, man being made in God's image, and that would be particularly in the form of very, very small boys and girls who have not yet emerged from the birth canal of their respective mothers. And Fletcher, why is it that your efforts out of Knoxville at the Center for Bioethical Reform, why is it that shock is so important? What is the message you're trying to convey?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for you allowing us to be here.
We are having sounds like a drop call, and Fletcher will give us a call back. He is, as I said, he's the director of the regional office in Knoxville for the Center of Bioethical Reform. And the work of this organization in the way of shock is that it shows you what happens when the good doctor, he's also called euphemistically the abortion doctor, destroys a boy or a girl. In Tennessee, the law describes criminal abortion something in the fashion of this: that there is a destruction of a person until who otherwise would be quick. It's clearly a destruction of a human being, a destruction of that child in the womb. But of course, we don't have criminal abortion in Tennessee. We have no one in the executive branch or in the judicial branch who is willing to say no based on common law principles, based on the and where was I? Well, anyway, we're going to get back to talking about this question, because Tennessee is a hub for many very important and valuable means of publication of things that touch human life and prosperity. Remember, every human being, boy or girl, may be of the wrong color, right? Maybe speak not the right language, right? May have parents who are poor, who have some kind of obstacle to their human gifts, right? To their souls. But they're all made in God's image, and every person is born with a mouth. Yes, he's a consumer, but he also is born with two hands. And the story about Tennessee and its Tennessee government and its unwillingness to believe in its own people. The state, of course, allowing for the destruction of more than 500,000 boys and girls since 1973. The state has not interfered with the slaughter. And of course, chief among the defenders of abortion clinics are law enforcement officers. They enforce laws, even though abortion is not a law. Abortion is a permission. If anything, it is a permission from the high court that you can destroy your child, and you can't. You have a right to do it. So that's how it's a permission. There's no law that says abortion is right and true and allowed. There's no law that allows it, but it is a demolition. Abortion is a demolition of the protection that every boy and girl deserves. So, Fletcher Armstrong, welcome back. What is the effort? What is the purpose of the Center for Bioethical Reform? What are you trying to accomplish?
We're trying to show people that abortion decapitates and dismembers a little human being. The unborn child is a real human being with arms and legs and fingers, just like the rest of us. And people tend to think of the unborn child as being sort of a collection of cells, not really a baby. And abortion is just, quietly ending the life of just a blob of tissue. And really, it's a human being just like we are, maybe smaller. In some cases, not quite as developed. Well, certainly not quite as developed, but still with arms and legs and fingers and toes. And abortion is a horrifying act of violence against this baby, but people don't see that. They've been taught that it's just a blob of tissue, and abortion is not an act of violence. So when they see it with their own eyes, then when we say abortion is an evil so horrifying that it ought not to be tolerated in a civilized society, our arguments make a lot more sense when people actually know what abortion really is, and that's what we do.
Well, what is it? What is it that you do? What is it that you will do the next time you're at UTC? What are you going to show?
Well, we like one of our biggest projects is the Genocide Awareness Project, and we have pictures of aborted babies, and these are babies with arms and legs torn off. We'll have a picture of an aborted baby. These pictures came from abortion clinics. And you'll see a baby's arm that's been torn off the first trimester with legs and fingers and toes. And that perhaps there'll be a size reference on the photograph, maybe a dime or a quarter. And in one case, there's a baby you'll see in a gloved hand that you'll readily recognize the torso, the legs, but the head will be cut off, and you'll see that the baby's abdomen has been ripped open, and the intestines and internal organs have largely been fallen out. But the baby's basically been disemboweled in addition to being decapitated. And you'll see that in a gloved hand, and you'll see that next to some other form of historical genocide. And we make comparisons how the line of thinking that allows us to decapitate, dismember, and disembowel this little human being today is the same line of thinking that allowed us to enslave black people, that allowed the Nazis to kill Jews and Eastern Europeans. In large measure, all of the thinking behind this is that our victim, it's okay for us to do what we're doing because our victim is not really a human, not fully a human yet. So in our country, if we have a human baby that's unborn, if it's a wanted child, it's a baby. But if it's an unwanted child, we use some kind of dehumanizing term like blob of tissue, massive cells, that kind of thing. Well, it's the same way the Nazis did. Their victims were rats, pigs, vermin, Untermensch, which is subhuman. That's what they call it. So we make these comparisons, and the signs themselves are these huge 4x8 or 6x12 photo murals that have these messages on them. And we have a series of them, and we set them up on the campus. So at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, we would put up, 16 or so of these photo murals. We would erect them in a display, and we would surround it with crowd control barricades that allow people to look at the signs, but not to get too close to them. And we set it up right in the middle of campus, right there on the Cardiac Hill, which is a place on campus that most students are going to have to go through at some point during the day. They'll go up or down that hill. And it's very difficult to ignore this. I mean, the other side wants you to ignore abortion and pretend like it's not really such a big deal. And then, of course, they want your tax money to pay for it. But when people see pictures of it, they realize, yeah, this really is a big deal.
This is David Tulis. We're talking with Fletcher Armstrong from the Center of Bioethical Reform in Knoxville, the largest and most active chapter of that national organization. If you go to our Twitter feed, we're wildly popular and hotly busy feeding our Twitter account. We have some hands of a Caucasian baby on the face of a small coin. I'm not quite sure what coin it is. It looks like a dime, but very small children, disemboweled and dismembered, and say celebration of the right to choose, the right of feminism. You wonder, Fletcher Armstrong, if it's a right, why is it so shameful? Why is it so objectionable for you to show these images? People should, in fact, be celebrating what you're doing, because it is the expression of a right, one human over the other, the woman over the child. That is a very appropriate dehumanization. And why do people not celebrate these pictures? Why do they not stand in front of your displays at UTC and elsewhere and say, the right to choose is so important that I accept this. I accept this, and it's just a cost. You might say a cost of doing business. It is a balancing act, and we favor the woman. We don't favor the baby girl, the baby boy. We favor the woman. Why do people not do that? I mean, you think logically that they should.
Well, that's the question that we always ask, and we never get an answer. We always say, look, if abortion is such a good thing for society, if it's so good for women, then why do pictures of it make you so upset? And they never try to answer that question. They always try to change the subject. But that's interesting, because all of that has its parallels in history. Lewis Hine used pictures of children working in coal mines and textile mills to show what abusive child labor was all about a little over 100 years ago. And he said in his memoirs that people would look at his pictures and they get more angry at him for showing the pictures than at the industrial bosses for abusing the children. And so that's what you get. That's just what happens. People don't want their evil deeds exposed. They would rather be able to do this in darkness so that nobody sees it, and then they can do whatever they want. I've got a picture that was taken during the civil rights era of these three thugs beating up a photographer for taking pictures. Now, what they really wanted to do was beat up black people, but they did not want their evil deeds exposed. So in order to cover up what they were doing, they knew instinctively that what they were doing was wrong, and they didn't want to be held accountable for that. So they went over there and they beat up the cameraman, took away his camera, destroyed the film so that they could continue their evil deeds without being exposed. Of course, that didn't work because there was another photographer that took the picture that I have.
What do people?
But that is not. That's not unusual. People who want to do evil don't want their evil deeds exposed.
What do people who are very critical of CBR, that is to say, the Center for Bioethical Reform's displays say? What are the arguments that are made against your being there? and against the point you're making? People obviously who aren't looking at the photographs, but who are objecting. What kind of arguments do they offer?
Well, people are all over the place. I mean, we have people that come up and say, I don't agree with you, but thank you for coming because it was important for me to hear a different point of view. It's important for me to hear all sides of the issue. We even have I even have one financial supporter who is pro-choice, and he says, I think a woman ought to have the right to choose, but I think they ought to have all the information. And I recognize that the other side is covering up, what they're doing. And people are all over the map. But a lot of times it's just, I don't want to see this. I shouldn't have to see anything that upsets me. I should have the truth withheld from me so that I'm not upset. People say that to us all the time. People are really all over the map about why they object to us being there. And some of them, they want to debate, well, whether is abortion okay or not. And we're pleased at that because that's the debate we're there to have.
Now, your website is you're on several websites, and you're a blogger also, Fletcher Armstrong. Is it abortionno.org? Is that the correct address?
Yes, abortionno.org. abortionno.org. And I have my own blog, and I post stories from our trips, and you'll see a lot of stories from recent trips there. And it's FletcherArmstrongBlog.com.
Now, the state looks upon abortion as just kind of a statistical thing. There's the health department doesn't view the slaughter of 12,373 children in 2014 as a major health issue, and it has the moldiest data. I'm trying to get the latest data, 2014, from the Department of Vital Statistics, the Division of Vital Statistics, and I can't get them. I probably have to call some bureaucrat and ask for a special shipment to my office of the details.
Takes a while for that data to get filtered down and disseminated.
Yeah, so the latest I can find is 2013, and in Hamilton County here in Chattanooga, where you, my listener, are, the women residing here yielded up the ghost for 258 boys and girls in 2014. Again, this is when you're more recently 12,373 babies slain in the state, and that figure includes 2,500 people from other states. We are kind of a destination state for women who want to destroy their heirs. But there has been in that number about a 12.9% decline. Well, Fletcher Armstrong, what is it about Christian universities and Christian churches that provides so little in the way of the warrior class among Christians to fight these depredations, these attacks on God and these attacks on humanity? Why are you so undermanned and understaffed at CBR?
Well, it's really quite interesting, and most people are aghast when I tell them this. You can go to any major university, and they have a whole secular universities, and they have a whole degree programs that are designed to prop up the abortion industry. I mean, that's what women's studies is all about. I mean, they're all about taking young people who are idealistic and turning them into these radical pro-abortion activists. In the Christian world, we don't have that. We have you can go to any Christian universities and you can find degree programs on how to make your music better on Sunday morning, but babies are being slaughtered down the street, and there's no degree program, no training to train pro-life people to be activists against the slaughter of unborn children.
And so, some of that training would have to be, I would think, Fletcher Armstrong.
A reform movement within the pro-life church, first of all. If the pro-life church cared about this, really, it would have been over a long time ago. So one of the first places that we need to reform is within the pro-life church, because they're really either part of the problem, or you could even argue they are the problem.
Well, I would suggest that the blame lies almost entirely on the Christian church, God's people, as they're called in the Holy Writ, God's people who don't connect their claims and their claims of God upon them and their love for God with this vital matter of public health and public morality. It seems that
you can go back in history and see the same thing. I mean, you can see the Christian church's response to the rise of Nazism, and it was pretty weak and pathetic, other than Bonhoeffer and just a small few.
The White Rose movement.
And we wonder, well, gee whiz, why didn't Christians stand up? Why weren't they more active? And would we have been any better if we had been in Germany during that time? That's a question. That's a real question that I grew up with in the 1960s. I mean, that was, we went to the movies and saw Corrie ten Boom and The Hiding Place, and that was a real question for us. And today we have our answer because the American Christian Church stands by and does almost nothing. And I'm talking about the pro-life church, the people who say, yes, we're pro-life.
This is David Tulis. We're talking with Fletcher Armstrong out of Knoxville. Fletcher, hang on just a second. We'll be right back. I've got some important messages for you. Just hang on.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. From all of us here at Hot News Talk Radio, thank you for patronizing our sponsors. It's important that you support people that support and advertise with Hot News Talk Radio, so we can continue to deliver the outstanding programs that you desire. And if you'd like to advertise on Hot News Talk Radio, you can email us at hotnewstalkradio@gmail.com. That's hotnewstalkradio@gmail.com. Or call 423-458-5563. That's 458-5563.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advance Financial Flex loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advance Financial. Welcome.
Accountants and tax preparers talk about helping you, but here's someone with help you can use right now as you plan for tax season. EJ Pelton Company has a website with excellent financial tools, ejpelton.com. Click any topic: budgeting, college, debt, mortgage, income, insurance, payroll and benefits, retirement. Go to ejpelton.com right now, and later today, give yourself time to think about taxes and the help you'll need. ejpelton.com, open 52 weeks a year, always available for questions or tax help. EJ Pelton, a company to depend on at tax time. Think ahead. ejpelton.com. Call 332-3339. That's 332-3339.
Chattanooga Patriots Prepper Show every Thursday from 11 to noon on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Don't be a victim. Arm yourself today at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, offering the finest selection of personal firearms and ammo, especially the hard-to-find ammunition. You know the police can't protect you. They show up after the crime is committed. The ability to protect yourself, your family, and when called upon, your nation is enshrined in the United States Constitution. Shop the largest selection of shooting supplies on their online store, CarterShootingSupply.com. Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, the largest and cheapest selection in Chattanooga. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099. That's 344-1099. Keep your family safe by buying them a certificate for Carter Shooting Supply Tennessee Handgun Permit Class. And stop by today to consult one of their qualified experts. They'll fit you perfectly to the firearm that meets your needs. Call 344-1099. You'll always find the widest selection of new and used firearms at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099.
I'm the type of guy that likes a big breakfast, a couple of eggs, bacon, and some gravy and biscuits. I get that at Wimpy's. I know they have specials at lunch every day. That includes a big meat and three menu. At night, I want some good comfort food. Maybe some smoked brisket, pulled barbecue, or ribs. They've got that too. Wimpy's the type of place where you can go in and have a good conversation, catch up what's going on in Soddy Daisy, and have some great food. That's why I go to Wimpy's. You know where it's at, on Dayton Boulevard, right across from City Hall. That's Wimpy's. Give them a call, 423-332-6201. Did you hear me? It's 332-6201. Wimpy's. They're even on Facebook. At Wimpy's, I know your mouth is watering just like mine. So let's go to Wimpy's.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
We do the best quality work. We have the best customer service, the most competitive prices around.
Cell Surgeon, a painless operation to fix your sick device.
Well, if you have a cheap charger or something that's not really designed for your phone, it can mess with your battery. It can actually fry your phone. So you need to make sure you have a quality product that's going to be designed for your phone.
Cell Surgeon, your smartphone doctor's in the house at the Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
If you charge it in the morning and, by noon, it's at, 50% under normal use, that means your battery's pretty much dead. And once you've reached that point, it starts to deteriorate.
Cell Surgeon, call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com.
We do free estimates. If your phone's not working properly, bring it in. We're more happy to take a look at it and diagnose it and see what we think is wrong with it at no charge. Most phone repairs can be done in 30 minutes or less.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
Don't take it in the bathroom. Don't ever put it in your back pocket. And don't charge your phone while you're sleeping.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. That's cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. Cell Surgeon, your smart device doctor is in the house.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go. You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapami. Who didn't show up for work today?
A lot of millionaires waking up across the country today.
Gary Grief should know he's with the Powerball lottery. 3 winning ticket holders will share last night's record $1.6 billion jackpot, but some other lucky players won $1 million each. The big winning tickets were sold in Tennessee, California, and Florida.
I'm Peter King in Melbourne Beach, Florida. Except for all the reporters and TV trucks here, it looks like a typical day at the Publix supermarket, which sold one of the 3 tickets that matched all the numbers. But people are excited. Joyce Masick works here part-time.
When I was in the store just now, we were all looking at each other. Is it you? Is it you?
Masick says she's been hearing from friends around the world, all asking the same thing. Of course, it's not her.
To Beverly Hills now, where this year's Oscar nominations came out a short time ago.
The film with the most nominations this year is The Revenant, the story of revenge and survival on the American frontier. It has 12 nominations, including 1 for Best Picture and 1 for its star Leonardo DiCaprio. Also up for Best Picture, The Martian, the story of an astronaut stranded on Mars.
I got to figure out a way to grow 3 years' worth of food here.
Other Best Picture nominees include Spotlight, The Big Short, Room, Brooklyn, Bridge of Spies, and Mad Max Fury Road. Steve Futterman, CBS News at the Motion Picture Academy.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Pornhub is reporting that 87.8 billion porn videos were, as they say, consumed in 2015. That's about 12 porn videos for every person on the planet. Altogether, there were 4.39 billion hours of porn watched, equal to 501,425 years of watching pornography on one porn site. This is David Tulis. We're brought to you by Trade Bank of Chattanooga, the smarter way to barter and to improve your cash flow. And also by Bruce Krebs, who runs Entrepreneur Source. He is the man to help get you into a business in which you are not looking out for yourself, but you're looking out for your customer. A business which is in the franchise world. Bruce Krebs, Entrepreneur Source. His number is 875-5621. That's 875-5621. My name is David Tulis. And if it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio. And we do thank you for giving us a couple of minutes of your time. We are the local economy and free market station, very pro-government, very pro-government. You need to know that. That's something that's distinct about our work here in the media. And I've just posted a fine text at the website that is very unpopular. You need to know that You shouldn't go there if it's unpopular, and you only go there if you are the man who matters. And it is about the shindig yesterday at the Trade Center, when education, as it's called, was hailed as a necessity, especially when it's in state control. And there is no paradigm shift in Chattanooga as far as our political elites, our mayors, and our business specialists who care more about business than the free market. This is, as I say, David Tulis, and we're talking with Fletcher Armstrong from CBR. CBR is the word for the Center for Bioethical Reform. And Fletcher, the consumption of pornography says that we live in a very me-oriented time, and it's all about self-gratification. It's the pornography, of course, makes the viewer the king, the mighty lover, the man with the eternal orgasm. It's all about him. It's all about his own using of other people. And pornography is a fruit. One of the fruits of or abortion is one of the fruits of pornography. You are involved in showing people the fruit of kind of lawless behavior. What does CBR do?
Well, we go to through various different venues. We show people we show Americans what abortion looks like. Martin Luther King said America will never reject racism until America sees racism. And he combated racism by organizing marches, knowing that black men and women would be attacked with dogs and water cannons and all of that, and that images of those attacks would be put on TV and in magazines, and that people would who had never seen segregation would say, "Wow, I thought segregation was the little white boys children sat on one side of the class and the little black children sat on the other side of the classroom. They're down there beating up people, in some of these southern cities." Just in some cases, a woman saw a picture of a woman being beat up just because she went and registered to vote. So when people started to see that, they changed their minds. Now, Dr. King's niece, Dr. Alveda King, says in the same way, America will never reject abortion until America sees abortion. And so what we do is we show Americans what abortion looks like. And we do it out in the public. We don't wait on them to give us their permission. We don't wait on them to come to our seminars or read our we don't wait on them to read our papers and all of that. We get out in the public square and we force people to see what it actually looks like. And that's the only thing that could bring about the kind of change in public opinion that we need to see.
Well, many of your posters have two panels. Give us an example of what is on the left panel and what my listener would see in the right panel.
Well, on the left side, you would typically see some form of historical genocide. You would see Rwanda, or you would see perhaps the Holocaust or Cambodia. And we all recognize those as terrible acts of violence against, large numbers of human beings. On the right side, you would see a picture of an aborted baby, also fully formed, with arms and legs and fingers and toes. You would see perhaps there's one picture with a gloved hand, and in that hand is an aborted baby, but the head's been cut off. The baby's been disemboweled. Other than that, it appears to be a very normal human being. And that picture demonstrates that abortion decapitates, dismembers, and disembowels little human beings. And then that's a first trimester child that you see in that photo. In other photos, you'd see, hands, usually hands and arms or other body parts, next to some coin, perhaps, to give as a size reference. And these pictures came from abortion clinics. And they're fully authenticated as to what they are and what they represent.
If you go to our Hot News Talk Radio Twitter feed, you can see an example of a couple of little hands, probably of a Caucasian baby, cut off just above, just between the elbow and the wrist, and that these hands are on the face of an important American figure on I think it's a dime. And again, these are very small people. They are distinct from their parents. They have distinct genetic identity. They are separate human beings, and yet cavalierly, without much thought, they are destroyed by the tens of thousands. Altogether, there are more than 500,000 children, as they're called, unborn children, destroyed in Tennessee since 1973. The number, according to state data that's a year old now, is 615,016. boys and girls. Some of them are black. I think that that matters because there are people who make a big deal out of Black Lives Mattering. Well, Fletcher Armstrong of the Center for Bioethical Reform, tell us about Carly Fiorina. She had a few weeks ago a gripping commercial that showed a baby facing imminent death outside the womb. Not a fetus anymore. A fetus is simply a reference of, it's simply Latin for baby, and we use that word to describe the baby in utero. But here we have a baby that is alive and almost at the point of death. What is that video about, and what do we need to hear about the Center for Medical Progress?
There was a couple of videos. There was a group called the Center for Medical Progress that put together a video, and they had eyewitness testimony from a young woman who had worked in one of these abortion clinics. And she had been told to, and actually did, cut through a baby's face. This baby had been aborted, but was born completely intact. Heart was still beating. And the supervisor said, "Great, we can get a lot of good parts out of this one. Let's get a brain out of it." So this technician was told to cut through the face of this baby and harvest the brain. And during this description, of course, we didn't have nobody had the actual video of the actual baby who was killed in that manner. So to illustrate the type of baby that we were talking about, the Center for Medical Progress used one of our videos, a video of a late-term aborted baby who had been aborted and was basically put in a stainless steel bowl to die, and you could still see the heart beating and so forth. And it illustrated the kind of baby that was being talked about. And Carly Fiorina made reference to that in a debate, and then later on in an ad. She didn't clarify that the baby in the stainless steel bowl was different from the baby that Planned Parenthood killed. But you know, that's a minor difference. Planned Parenthood's defense, the abortion industry's defense of that, was quite interesting. Their defense was, look, the baby on that video was not the baby that we cut through the face and harvested the brain. No, we cut through the face and harvested the brain of a different baby, you know, and they wanted to make that.
Phew, what a relief.
Sound like it's a big deal. Well, I'm sorry, if you cut through the face and harvest the brain of any baby, it's a big deal in my mind, but you know.
Your goal is at the Center for Bioethical Reform is to shock people. Are you trying to shock them? Or are you trying to tell them the truth? Why not just have editorials in the college newspaper? Why is that not enough?
Well, for the same reason that writing words about the Holocaust wasn't enough. If you go to the Holocaust Museum in D.C., you're not going to walk in and see simply words on the page, you know, attached to the wall. You're going to see actual pictures of what it was like for those people. You're going to see pictures of bodies stacked up like cordwood. You're going to see video of that. At the end of when the death camps, when the concentration camps, the death camps were discovered by the American Army, General Eisenhower required that the United States Army go out and round up civilians in the neighboring communities and bring them in and walk them through these death camps to see what had gone on right under their nose and in their name, so that they could never deny that this was actually real. The pictures make all the difference when you see it. The words are inadequate to convey. There are no words to convey indescribable, unimaginable horror. Only a picture can do that. The Holocaust people know that. You can't pick up a book and read about the Nazi era or the concentration camps, the Holocaust, that you don't see pictures that show what that was all about. The horror of abortion is just as real, and it's just as important to use the pictures to help people, first of all, overcome any kind of denial that this isn't real, but also just to help them see for themselves how horrific it really is.
To what extent, Fletcher Armstrong, is abortion, as it's called, a racist enterprise, an Anglo-Saxon establishment racist effort?
Well, I mean, if you look back at the history of Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger, it's pretty clear that she wanted to get rid of undesirables. And in her mind, that included anybody poor. And it also included, black people. She was very much racist in her views. So Planned Parenthood comes out of that. I think today, they're looking for their marketplace, and unfortunately, the rate of, you mentioned a minute ago that most abortions are performed on people who are having sex outside marriage, and the rate of childbirth outside marriage in the Black community is unfortunately very high. And so that's a natural target audience for them to go after those children because, these are young women and who are perhaps not married. Now, there are a lot of certainly abortions being done on married women too, but the key demographic that they search for are people who are not married and therefore vulnerable to their sales pitch.
Right. There are 84.5% of babies destroyed in Tennessee are to women who do not have the protection, benefit, and delight of wedlock, and according to state data collected by Tennessee Right to Life, and 51% of abortions are by non-Caucasian. So about half are well, but I'm not sure what that means by if the mother or the abortionist is non-Caucasian, but 48% of abortions are by Caucasians. This data says, and 40% of babies destroyed are to women who have destroyed earlier products of conception, as they are called. Well, Fletcher Armstrong, what are some of the things that people say? Maybe just tell us typically if when your display was here 4 or 5 years ago at UTC, what did women and men say who objected to your being there and who were very harsh in their words to your staffers?
Well, they don't really have any defense. I mean, they don't want to talk about whether it's okay to decapitate and dismember little human beings. So they try very hard to change the subject. They try to say that some of them will try to say, well, how many babies have you adopted? Or you're a man. You can't talk about this because you're a man. Well, I find that one kind of interesting because if only women can talk about abortion, then that means because only women are subject to having an abortion, then that means only Southern landowners can talk about slavery because they're the main ones that own slaves, and it's ridiculous. It's absurd. In fact, more of our staff are women than are men, so it's kind of a funny kind of accusation. But they want to talk about my gender, and they'll say, "Well, you shouldn't be here because you're a man." And I say, "Well, first of all, you walked up to me. Second of all, if you would like to talk to a woman, we've got plenty standing around here that are on our staff. So if you want to talk to one of them, then please do."
We're talking with Fletcher Armstrong.
It's just an absurd attempt to change the subject.
We're talking with Fletcher Armstrong from the Center for Bioethical Reform.
You shouldn't be out here upsetting me, and I have a right not to be upset. Well, I'm sorry, you don't have that right.
Well, let me ask you a question, Fletcher. You have a doctorate in engineering. You're involved in environmental consulting. You were a Department of Defense and Department of Energy manager at Oak Ridge, and you quit that work in 2000. What made you change your mind? Tell us about your changing of career in a way that might affect my listener. My listener is not a Christian man necessarily, but he does have an interest in what's right and true. What drove you into this great and kind of horrible labor of showing the necessities of defending unborn Chattanoogans and unborn Hamilton counties? What drove you? What impelled you into this change of career?
Well, some of it is my Christian background. I read the book of Jeremiah and found out what happens to a nation that kills its own children. And I think, we as individuals and collectively, we have an obligation to obey God's commands, particularly the commands like don't kill, don't murder, don't commit murder, live in a just world. And so that was certainly a motivating factor. Actually seeing for myself what abortion is and what it does, that was a motivating factor. Because when I saw the pictures and realized how horrific abortion was, my first thought was, how can I do nothing? How can I live anymore as if I've never seen this, as if I didn't know? Because that's what we observed in Germany. And I remember the words of Edmund Burke, I believe, who said, all that's necessary for evil to flourish is for good men to do nothing. And so what I try to think about is not just my own self, but what kind of world is my son and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. You know, the founders of our country talked a lot about building a good, just society, not only for ourselves, but for our posterity. And so I think all of us should think more about not just ourselves, but our own children and grandchildren for our posterity. When you think about the kind of world that our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren will grow up in, how could we not do more? How could we not?
This is David Tulis. We're brought to you by Eric Pelton, the numbers guy. EJ Pelton Company is an accountant. In Hickson, he has an office in Saudi Daisy as well. And you can reach him at 622-3156. That's ejpelton.com online. And again, it's EJ Pelton Company. And Eric is at 622-3156. Also, we're brought to you by a cell surgeon, where your cell phone or your smart device can be quickly repaired if there's not a backlog. It can be done in 20 to 25 minutes. And Cell Surgeon is right next to Old Chicago's Pizza in Northgate Mall. The number is 668-0100. That's 668-0100. And your cell phone will be carefully and quickly repaired. Have that done and keep that name in mind. Cell Surgeon, again, front of Northgate Mall. And Adam and or Anthony are there on Sunday. If you have a disaster on the Lord's Day, they can take care of you as well. It is, you would say it is a kind of emergency. Well, we are talking with Fletcher Armstrong, and his website is Abortion No, ABORTIONNO, abortionno.org. And he is the regional director of CBR, which is the Center for Bioethical Reform. And let me ask you a quick question about capital. We hear at 1240 AM Hot News Talk Radio, Fletcher, we believe in capitalization. How is it that abortion is a systematic decapitalization of the people of a given city or state or a country? How does it work? What is lost with abortion?
Well, you know, I guess there's a lot of ways of looking at that. You know, a lot of people like to talk about the fact that we don't have enough money in our Social Security system because, you know, we've aborted all these millions of babies over the years. I don't like to focus on that, and I'll tell you why. Because there are a lot of reasons that abortion is wrong. There are a lot of ways that there are a lot of things wrong with abortion. There are a lot of ways that abortion hurts the society by diminishing its human capital. But even if that weren't true, abortion would still be wrong because it takes the life of an innocent human being. And that's what makes abortion wrong. So we don't look so much at what's wrong with abortion. We focus on why abortion is wrong. Abortion is wrong because it takes the life of an innocent human being. In fact, it decapitates, dismembers, and disembowels an innocent human being. That's why abortion is wrong. And that's kind of what we focus on. Yeah, there are a lot of things that abortion does to harm people. I mean, harm born people. It hurts our economy. It harms the women and families who lose their children because of that. I mean, I've got a son that's 25, and we lost some children when we were younger. My wife and I did, not through abortion, but just through natural causes. And you know, I probably didn't see the full realization of how much I lost until my son grew up, and I realized, you know, what a blessing he is to me and to our family. And I thought, wow, you know, we lost so many blessings as a result of death. And I feel that loss perhaps now more than I did even at the time.
Fletcher Armstrong, thanks very much for joining us. This is David Tulis. We're talking with Fletcher Armstrong from the Center for Bioethical Reform. And he has been telling us about why his group shows graphic posters of the slain, the dead, the destroyed, boys and girls. This is David Tulis.
Mr. Leon, let those boys have a bud.